Okay, how to quickly get a job in the automation industry. And 60% of job seekers that do this, that follow this strategy, this method, are 2 to 3 times more likely to get job interviews. And this is a well-known statistic, it's a well-known fact within the industry. And how we go about doing this is utilizing LinkedIn, posting and engaging on LinkedIn. And this is massive, and this is totally overlooked by so many people in this industry, and they're missing out. So I want to talk you through the methodology, the strategy that we use to help people get into the industry. So what this is going to do for you, how you would go about structuring a post and engaging on LinkedIn regularly, and then this is the big thing, like the mindset to adopt through just everyday working life to then be able to maximize opportunities when you're using the platform. So let's get into the video now. So what we're going to look at, so it's a relatively short lesson. I'm going to give you a quick introduction as to the importance of posting. We're then going to be looking at building a library of content and images, and then I'm going to run you through a simple posting structure, which is tried and tested and works and gets results. So let's jump in. So welcome to LinkedIn Posts. Now that your profile is set up and fully optimized, it is time to start creating posts. And I just want to take you back to a statistic that we've looked at earlier on. And it says it is 60% of job seekers who actively engage on LinkedIn, so that means posting, commenting, or sharing, are 2 to 3 times more likely to land job interviews. And obviously posting is far more powerful and impactful than just commenting and sharing alone. And I can confirm this because I've been posting, on social media since March 2020. So I can confirm from my own experience that posting really does work. And it's also worked for previous clients that we've worked with. So I can't stress how important it is to actually just get into the frame of mind that you're someone that posts on LinkedIn, at least until your objective has been met. Because focusing on posting will drastically increase the numbers in that statistic. Because as mentioned, posting is the most powerful one out of commenting and sharing. Like really, commenting, sharing, but posting is authentic. No one can imitate that. So, focusing on posting heavily is going to drastically increase the likelihood of you landing job interviews and progressing to the next stage in the process. So if you want to drastically increase your career development opportunities, this is one of the biggest needle movers that you should be focusing on. And let me explain to you why this works so well. Posting consistently on a regular schedule creates an extreme Lollapalooza effect in terms of triggering psychological stimuli. And a Lollapalooza effect refers to a situation where multiple biases, tendencies, or mental models act together to produce an extreme outcome. And this was a term coined by a chap called Charlie Munger. So Lollapalooza effect was a term coined by Charlie Munger, who you may or you may not have heard of him, but Warren Buffett, business partner. So Warren Buffett is known as being the most successful investor of all time. Him and his business partner, Charlie Munger, have basically, if you look into them, they've got a business called Berkshire Hathaway, and just the biggest investment fund, most successful investment fund on the planet. So this was a term coined by Charlie Munger, and a very clever guy. And just to go through it again, biases, tendencies, or mental models that act together to produce an extreme outcome. And in your case, the outcome is progressing you to the next stage in the interview process. And this outcome is achieved through increasing the thresholds within the AIDA model framework to such a high level where it creates a behavioral change in the recruiter or hiring manager or even business owner who are viewing your profile and seeing your posts, where they are compelled to take action and progress you to the next stage in the interview process. So this is what posting does. It creates a Lollapalooza effect in terms of psychological stimuli, which is where in this case, multiple stimuli are acting together, drastically increases the outcome, the chances of progressing to the next stage in the interview process, and exponentially increases this number up here, making it far more likely that you're going to move on to the next phase. So yeah, really, really important. So let's explore all the psychological stimuli you'll be triggering within recruiters, hiring managers, and business owners, creating that Lollapalooza effect. So the first one is social proof, and this is probably the most well-known psychological bias or stimulus, because you are showing in posting, you are showing evidence and proving that you do what you say you do. And if there's images of you in there, it's showing that you are proving that you're a real person actually doing work. That's the first one, social proof. The next couple are consistency and recency effect. So posting, it shows that you're available, you're there, you're current, you're active, you're engaged, and you're passionate. And people seeing this regularly, it's a consistency. It also creates that recency effect, which is that you are in the here and now, you are active, you are relevant, which is attractive to recruiters, hiring managers, and business owners. They don't want people that aren't active, aren't engaged. The next couple is familiarity and availability heuristic. We've already touched on the availability up here, but this just kind of increases that and hits home the point. And it's kind of like, if you think of it from a business perspective, this is where you're turning, let's say, cold leads into warm leads and keeping yourself top of mind. So if you think about recruiters, hiring managers, and business owners that are like on LinkedIn, that are seeing posts from you, that are potentially visiting your profile, they start off cold, and then you, in a business sense, let's say we're nurturing leads in a business sense, you're nurturing them from cold to warm to hot leads, and the hotter they are, the more likely they are to take action. In your case, reach out to you and progress you to the next stage in the interview process. So yeah, you're ultimately, through posting regularly, being familiar, showing that you're available, and doing this consistently, you're turning these cold recruiters, hiring managers, business owners who aren't interested, don't really know who you are, to warmer, let's say, prospects who are becoming more and more interested, to a point where they want to speak to you. And the more regularly you do this and the more consistently you do it, is you're keeping yourself top of mind, because people easily forget people and things. People are busy and you're not the most important thing to them, so it's easy for people just to forget and be distracted. So by doing this, you're staying top of mind. People aren't going to forget about you if you're doing this consistently, regularly. Now the next one is emotional resonance. Like, you are indirectly building relationships with recruiters, hiring managers, business owners, because the more that they see you do these things that we just mentioned, the more of an emotional connection you're going to be building with them. Providing they, you're not doing drastic things to make people dislike you, then you will slowly but surely, maybe not so much slowly, but you will definitely start creating emotional resonance where, these people really start to get to know you. They see your character, they see your personality. And ultimately, in a business world, people buy from people that they like, that they know, that they trust. And this is doing that. This is building that emotional connection with them to a point where, again, we are optimizing to progress to the next stage in the interview process. So an initial phone call or conversation. And then the final thing is authority. So you are positioning yourself as an authority compared to other candidates. And I'm not saying that you need to be an authority figure and a, God forbid, influencer. That's not what I'm saying. By doing this, you are being more, and we get to what the content of the post is a bit later, but you're more authoritative, that's the right word, than other candidates that you're competing against who aren't doing this. You're demonstrating that you know what you're talking about through the post that we're going to explore a bit later. So that's that Lollapalooza effect. And if you look at this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 psychological stimuli being triggered at once, creating that Lollapalooza effect. And this is why you should be posting at least once per week minimum. I would say, just to start with, when you get into the swing of it and starting off, just go once a week. But if you can go, more than that, consistently, then do it, but it's got to be consistent. So to start off with, once a week. The next thing, building a library. Now, don't worry too much about this and don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it, but we want to start building a library of images on your mobile phone. And this should be something now that you are constantly thinking about and constantly capitalizing on every opportunity that you have where there is the potential for a good photo. So you should be thinking, is there a good photo opportunity here that could be captured and used as a post? So this is kind of a mindset shift that needs to be made. When you're on site or when you're at work, wherever it is, doesn't matter if it's on site or you're in a factory or workshop or whatever, you need to be thinking about, is this thing that I'm working on, is this site that I'm working on, whatever it is there the opportunity to take a photo of something interesting that I can then use as a post later on this week, later on next week? So just take photos. Because the more photos that you have, because it might be that, you know, that first photo that you take is an okay photo, or you think it's a good enough photo to make a post, but then tomorrow you might go somewhere else and there's an even better photo that you can use for your post that week later on. But then the second week you might not be on site anywhere, or there might not be the opportunity to take a good photo, and like you don't have the opportunity to see anything interesting. So because you've taken two the week before, you can go back to that additional photo that you've got and use that instead. So this is why it's important to start building up a library and to be constantly thinking, will this be a good photo that I can use as a post, you know, this week, next week, in a few weeks' time? And to define a good photo, you'll have to use your own common sense and intuition to a certain degree, but as a simple guideline, it should be relevant to the industry or role that you're seeking. So for example, BMS service engineer, things that are relevant to a BMS service engineer will be things like plant rooms, pumps, valves, control panels, boilers, you know, field equipment, schematics, those kind of things. And we're in a technical industry and people like seeing technical things like machines, control panels, wires, hardwares, drawings, etc. And if you need any inspiration, just have a look at my social media profiles and see which posts get the most engagement. So in terms of views, likes, comments. So here's 3 examples. So you can first, well, let's open them all up. So I don't know whether you have social media. Well, you should hopefully have LinkedIn. So that you should definitely have LinkedIn. But a good one for me to quickly show you is Instagram, because I can quickly show you, you know, how many likes there are, how many comments there are. And I can just quickly hover over these and show you. It's quite a new post here, but you can see this one, control panel. a reel on a control panel. It's got basically 600 likes. Photos of control panels, 400 likes. Photo of me, people are less interested in that, 55 likes. Another one of me putting a control panel backplate in the enclosure, 530. So you kind of get the picture, you know. And I can tell you from experience that it's these types of photos, you know, as you can see, of control panels, of little wiring boxes. Like, look at this one, 1,500 likes. We've got more on this one because there's some control panels in it. But this is what people in our industry like to see. Technical stuff. And you can see that I've realised that control panels perform really well, and I've had the opportunity to take lots of photos for control panels. But like this was a post, just for example, this was a post December 2024, so back end of last year. But this panel I built, I don't know, a year prior, 2 years prior even. I've just got a library of photos that I just recirculate. Like, I've already posted this a couple of times before, but it's still getting really good engagement, you know. And I've obviously got different motives, different objectives as a business owner to you guys, but this is what I mean. It's so valuable to just build up a library of good, relevant photos that people are going to be interested in. you know. So anyway, I hope you get the what I'm getting at there. And it's all the same posts. If you haven't got Instagram, it's all the same posts on Facebook, although engagement is far less, for me at least, on Facebook. And it's it's the same thing on LinkedIn as well. So you can go and have a look at that. But yeah, if you need inspiration, just have a look at what's performing on my social media profiles. But through me showing you that, hopefully you get the idea. And when it comes to building up this library, I can think of 3 options that you guys can do, because they're basically the same as what I've done in the past. So the first option is you take photos of your own work, your own projects that you've personally been involved with. The second option is to take photos of other people's work and projects. And then the third one is take images, photos, screen captures of graphics, drawings, of any other resources, even video screen captures. What I want to tell you and reassure you when it comes to number 2, taking photos of other people's work and projects. Do not worry about taking photos of other people's work or projects. Please know that it's a massive compliment when you take a photo of someone else's work, providing you give credit to the person or business whose work it is and do not try and pass it off as your own. There is no problem in doing this. You are promoting that person or business at no cost to them, okay? So I've done this hundreds of times without asking the permission up front, and have never, I can tell you, I've never received any resistance from anyone, because I make sure I give credit where credit is due, and it's ultimately promoting them. You know, it's doing them a favor. It's bigging them up, you know. And if I ever do in the future, if I ever do get a complaint or some resistance, that's fine. I'll just remove it. You know, if they obviously don't see how I'm helping them. So yeah, if they don't like it, if they complain, that's fine. I'll just remove it. It's not a problem. Think of it like this. Like, you are taking photos of other people's work because you admire what they have done. It's provided you inspiration, lessons, or valuable insight, which you want to share with your network and give credit to these people or businesses who have, you know, taught you this lesson, shown you this insight, or given you this inspiration. And if you don't know whose work it is, you just say that. You're very open and honest and transparent about it. You say, I cannot take credit for this incredible work, and unfortunately I don't know who did it. I'll leave that there. As you can see, there's some dots. This is just an example of what you can say within a post. You know, if you don't know who it is, you know, you're just honest, open, but you can then go on to say, I don't know who did it, but I just want to admire what amazing work it is, because it's taught me that laying out a control panel in this way is far more effective than laying it out, you know, this other way because of XYZ, you know, something along those lines. And let me try and find some examples. I haven't done this for a while because we've got our own little system going now. Okay, yeah. So this is a photo of someone else's work. This is not my work, but this, I'm not giving credit here because this was just a breakdown that I went out to and solved the fault. So yeah, that's not my work, but I'm talking about a breakdown specifically here that I was called out to. So ultimately, this was my job, this was my project, this was my work. I'm not saying I did the work here, but yeah, photos of other people's works, not a problem. Again, here's a panel. This electrical panel was not built by us. I always look inside other people's panels if I can to learn from how they do things. This control panel controls. So very basic, pretty rubbish description if I'm honest. But again, it's just showing that it's photos of other people's work. You know, it's not a problem. I didn't know who did this. There was no well, I think I couldn't find them on Instagram. Or they didn't say, I can't remember. But yeah, you get my point. It's not a problem. Let's try and find any more. And back, I don't know how long ago it was, but what I would do is, again, this was a really good performing post. I was out on site here. This was the control panel that I was sort of kind of working on, but not really. There was just a link in here that needed removing, that was bypassing something. But like, this is, you know, these types of photos on a site that I was working on. They get huge engagement. Like, that's a really impressive control panel, relevant to the industry that I'm in, you know. And then you just create a description. But yeah, a year or two ago, a big part of our content strategy was posting other people's work. So yeah, here we go. Yeah. So giving credit. Here's another one. Giving credit. Another one. Giving credit. So it's absolutely fine if you give credit where credit is due. And like, these are getting really good engagement, like 1,000 likes, 1,000 likes, 1,500 likes. Anyway, I'm going to stop driving home the point, because I think you well, hopefully you understand what I'm getting at here. Now, I want to give you a simple posting structure for you guys just to use, just copy and paste. And it's basically set out like this. So the first thing is the visual. So this is just going to be an image or graphic, and it might be a carousel. It might be a carousel of images, you know, something like that. So that's the first thing, and that's for you to obviously collect and take and build up a library of. Key thing here is make sure that it's eye-catching and relevant based on all the things we just discussed and I've shown you. And then the headline is kind of, and this is, we're talking about LinkedIn here. So it would be the first line to grab attention with, you know, a clear and concise opening. This is kind of a loose structure. Like, you don't have to do it perfectly to this. This is just a loose structure in terms of these three things. It's very loose, okay? You know, you don't have to go into too much detail. But you ultimately, what you want to be doing is, with each visual, is you just want to share a thought, an insight, an experience, something that you've learned, you know, in 3 to 5 sentences. Let me try. Well, you can find examples on my LinkedIn. And I make much less of an effort now. But you know, you can scour through and have a look, because these are all written by, most of them are now written by my social media manager, TJ, or they're obviously very relevant to business development, what I'm doing. So yeah, so probably bad examples to show you, but ultimately, yeah, you'll kind of want to grab their attention and then just simply share something that you've learned, some thoughts, some insights, or an experience. You can also look at other people's examples on LinkedIn. Call to action. So I'd only use this, like, this is more business related, but I would use this call to action like saying something along the lines of, you know, how do you guys do it? Or what are your thoughts on this? You know, at the end of the post, because this encourages interaction and conversation, which then drives engagement. So it increases, you know, the likes, the comments, and then the more likes and comments that you have, like, it drives your posts out to more people. More people see it, more people then engage, like, comment, you know, and it's kind of like a flywheel, if you like. But you know, it's not always necessary, and it doesn't always make sense in every post for you to ask the opinions of other people, or, you know, what have they learned from it. It's just, and it can just get a bit cheesy if it's overused. And then the final thing is hashtags. So 3 to 5 targeted hashtags that are, again, relevant to the industry, to the job role, which will basically help your posts get more visibility. So, you know, as you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty common sense stuff. Yeah, relevant to the post, which is obviously then relevant to the industry and the role that you're after. And you can see I use them less these days, unless it's like a control panel. Cabling, electrical wire, BMS maybe, control panel, engineering, etc. You get the idea. So again, we've already brought it up quite a few times, but visit my profile here for inspiration. But ultimately, it's just getting those posts out there, getting those posts out there and using this structure loosely, and make sure that you're building up a library. So action items is pick a day and a rough time. It doesn't have to be perfect time, but ideally pick a day that you can stick to, and a time slot, a time window that you can stick to, you can commit and stick to on a weekly basis. And then the next action item is to create a post once a week based on these things that we've just discussed on LinkedIn, obviously, for 12 weeks minimum, or until you've secured a new career within the industry. You've achieved the goal that you set out to achieve. So yeah, just to summarize, introduction, why it's so important that you actually do post because of this statistic. The more you focus on posting rather than just commenting and sharing, the more this will increase. So the more likely you will be to land job opportunities, job interviews, and secure them. Building a library. So just always be thinking, is there a good opportunity, a good photo opportunity on this site? What I'm working on today, or people that I'm working with, have they done something that's would make a good photo opportunity? And you wanna bank it, and create a library that you can always go back to if, for example, the next week these opportunities don't present themselves. So again, it all just ties back into maximizing your opportunities. Okay, so just be thinking about this, constantly thinking about this and capitalizing on it. Yeah, and then the final thing, just to summarize, is that simple post structure. This headline, body text, call to action, very loose. Don't overthink this. The visuals obviously got to be eye-catching and relevant. That's important and interesting to people in our industry. And then hashtags 3 to 5 that are relevant, targeted, that will increase your visibility of the post. So that's it for LinkedIn posts. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the next one.